Hello, everyone. David Young here, coming at you today from just a screen recording because I wanted to update you on some legislative stuff that's going on with drones. So, for today's Your Drone Question Answered, one question we get all the time is what's going on with the DJI drone ban, which is also usually called the Countering CCP Drones Act. It's been tossed around for a while now. Our last episode that we released right before Thanksgiving was on this topic. And then, of course, right after I released that video, more updates came out. So this is as of 2 days ago. Today is December 10th. So if you didn't catch our last video, essentially it was good news that the Countering CCP Drones Act seemed to have sort of stalled out in the Senate, not really gone anywhere. But the risk was to the drone community that this language that would block the sale of future DJI drones in the United States, the risk was that this language would appear in the NDAA, which is the National Defense Authorization Act. Well, they're trying to get something pushed through and passed quickly so that they can fund the Department of Defense. And this is the quote conference text that they have come up with that is going to be proposed to be passed. And the Countering CCP Drones Act did not get put in there. So a lot of people are like, oh, hurrah, this is great news. DJI drones aren't going to be banned. However, there is some language in there, Section 1709, that could still be a little problematic in the future. So I wanted to dive into that with you real quick, show you what that means in case you're wondering how this might impact some of your decision making when it comes to what drones to buy, how to plan for your business, whatever entity you work for, or just if you're curious about the updates on these types of things. So on the screen with me, you'll see I'm on the House Armed Services Committee page. I looked all over the internet trying to find this actual text of this bill. I saw a lot of articles referencing it, but I'm like, I want to read it for myself to see what it says so that when I'm explaining it to you, I'm not just taking secondhand sources or things I've seen on the internet. So if you want to find it, you go to armedservices.house.gov. You can go here. This is their press release. Text is called the Service Member Quality of Life Improvement and National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2025. We go over there and you can see the full FY25 NDAA can be found here, the text, and there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. So I opened it up, and it is 1,813 pages long. And I found section 1709, which is the part where it talks about the drones, and that is on page 1084. Line 16 is where it starts. So we'll look through it briefly here together, and then we'll talk about what it means. So essentially, to give you a quick summary, it says, hey, we're not going to block DJI drones for sale right now, which they would do that by adding them to something called a covered list under the Federal Communication Commission, basically meaning that they wouldn't be granted any new rights to use the spectrum radio waves in the United States air to do their radio frequencies, thus making their drones impossible to use. So it says evaluation of communication services and equipments to covered list. So section 1 here says there's 1 year from the date of enactment of this act for a quote appropriate national security agency, we'll talk about that in a minute, shall determine if any of the following communications or video surveillance equipment or services pose an unacceptable risk to the national security of the United States or the security and safety of United States persons. So it talks about communication or video surveillance equipment produced by basically DJI Technology, it's their actual Chinese business name, or Autel Robotics. But then it also includes any subsidiary, affiliate, partner, any joint venture, and then it says any entity to which the named entity has a technology sharing or licensing agreement, which might impact Anzu Robotics, because I believe they do have some type of technology sharing or licensing agreement with DJI, even though they claim not to be a DJI-made product. So it may impact them. It goes on to talk, a little bit more legally stuff, basically anything using that equipment. It says here, if the National Security Agency that's working on this doesn't make a determination as required by paragraph 1 within a year, basically they're just going to automatically get added to that covered list and banned. So it says, hey, we're requiring a national security agency to look at this within 1 year. But if for some reason you guys just fumble the bag and forget about it and don't do what you've been commanded to do by this law, we're just going to put them on the block list anyways. I don't love that. It seems kind of lazy to me. So this next part says, if they determine that it does pose an unacceptable risk, within 30 days, they need to alert them and put this on the FCC covered list, effectively blocking new sales of that equipment. And then it says, if not, they have to submit a report showing their findings, and then they have to disseminate that to all these other different agencies. It kind of kicks the can down the road. It doesn't seem like it's completely gone away. It just makes things moved by about a year probably. Now you might be wondering, in DJI, I saw that they actually pushed back on this. It doesn't say who specifically a national appropriate national security agency is, but it references this other Secure and Trusted Communications Network Act of 2019. So, of course, I put my Google powers to work, found that act, and found Section 9. And if you'll look here, this one's not quite as deep. It's only 14 pages. If you look at Section 9, page 13 on what I'm showing you here, I'll read it out in case you're just listening for audio. Basically, it says appropriate national security agency means either the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Defense, Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the National Security Agency, or NSA, or the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. So any of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, those 5 entities is, quote, a appropriate national security agency. If one of them picks this up, looks at it, makes a determination one way or the other, that will have a large impact. So we'll see how this plays out. This has not been put into law yet, but this is sort of the conference text, the proposed sort of combined text that they're putting forward that essentially funds the Department of Defense, basically considered a must-pass bill. I'm not a legislative expert, but I think it's probably one of the things that they're going to get done is fund the military in our country. So if this goes through, it'll basically put a 1-year clock on the DJI drone ban, if you will, unless they come to a determination sooner. So hope that helps. I think that probably people reaching out to their congressman, senator helped in making it to where this isn't just shoved in there, blocking it from the get-go. Still, I don't love the way that it's written, where it automatically triggers after a year. Seems a little wishy-washy as to exactly who's going to take the lead on this analysis, but we'll keep you posted with what we hear here. I'll try to get you to the actual details as much as possible versus just talking about it in generalities or other things you hear out there online. Try to go straight to the source. So this was published, December 7th at 4:30 p.m. So that was almost 3 days ago. Now you can see the date at the bottom. Any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll try to check back and ping in with anything else I know. Otherwise, you guys can just go nuts in the chat talking about how this is good or bad. People get really passionate about this DJI drone ban stuff, but rightfully so. I think they make great quality drones for the best price. So it would kind of suck if they weren't available anymore. Thank you all for listening. Hope you're having a good December. See you later.